everyone. Thanks again for tuning in. I know it's Friday, and many of you may be thinking about the weekend. Ideally, anyone in Bangkok is going to be coming to District X for the event tonight. But really, it's my honor again to be invited to host a session at Redefine Tomorrow 2023, which is the fourth Redefine Tomorrow event. And I'm very happy to have Gabby Dizon, the CEO and co-founder of Yield Guild Games. It's ironically, we actually had met before in Singapore, thanks to our mutual friend CJ Fong, who I think you would have caught yesterday. I think he had a panel with Paradigm. Ironically, I just had an event with his co-founder Luis and Big John in Manila. So definitely very happy to have Gabby on. Hello, Gabby.
Hey, John. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm sure, everyone definitely in the gaming space knows who you are, but good thing about this is we have a lot of people who are probably new to the space, but quite interested. I was wondering if you could give, let's say, like a brief overview of YGG, why you kind of, what inspired you to start this, and maybe just to make it easier for some of the parts later, you could give like a brief overview of, say, play to earn and stuff, and maybe the difference between Web 2 and Web 3 gaming. But yeah, over to you.
Sure. So Yield Guild Games, or YUG, we're a Web3 guild. That means that we bring gamers from all over the world into Web3 gaming. And the key difference of Web3 gaming is that there are assets inside the game that can be owned by the players themselves. Unlike typical games where you basically don't really own your assets, whether it's armor or weapons or your inventory. And these can be taken away from you anytime. With Web3 games, some of these assets may be tokenized. They can be put as NFTs on the blockchain, meaning that you can own them in your wallet. And I started my journey playing a game called Axie Infinity in 2018. And I was just really experimenting, a very early part of the community. And during 2020, Axie started really growing in popularity because of the pandemic, with people being stuck at home with basically no way to earn an income. And that they started playing Axie. And Axie was unique in that you had to buy 3 Axies, which are NFTs, to play the game. And then whenever you won a match, you earned a token, an in-game resource called SLP, or Small Love Potion. And this potion, it allowed you to breed more Axie, so you had to collect these. But what made it magical was that these were also tokenized as a crypto token, meaning that you could trade it and sell it to other people. And that brought on the play-to-earn revolution. It brought Axie over 2 million players in the Philippines alone at the height of the pandemic. And YGG was started as a guild so that we can bring communities of gamers from around the world into different Web3 games.
Okay, so obviously everyone we're deep into crypto winter. Many of the parts of the digital asset space. There's a lot of challenges. In the Web3 gaming portion, in particular, what kind of challenges are you seeing? And as a second part to this, based on the challenges and the solutions you see, how do you see it kind of evolving over the next, say, 2 to 3 years, or even 5 years if you want to project out and stuff?
Yeah, we're still super early in the space. From a macro perspective, all of crypto has experienced a severe downturn at the moment, and the games are not accepted from that. So a lot of people have fled, basically because there is very little to no yield right now in these games. At the same time, we're seeing an evolution in the quality of the games themselves that are being made. After Axie showed that there was a viable business model in Web3 gaming, a lot of other more experienced game developers started their own Web3 gaming startups, got funded by VCs. But typically, the development time of a good game is maybe between 2 to 3 years. So we're not seeing this high quality products come in until maybe end of this year to early next. And I think that by next year we're gonna see a lot of really good product that starts to resemble a lot of the mainstream games that people are playing today, but has some form of tokenized elements in their economy that can be owned by its players.
Okay. Maybe give even more background on guilds. I mean, for those who are already gamers, I mean, what do you see as the key success factors for the Web3 game guilds, in particular, say YGG, that can really set you apart from the other players?
There are many different types of guilds, and guilds themselves have existed for a very long time. If you look at gaming guilds specifically, starting from games like Ultima Online 20 years ago, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, guilds have always existed as long as groups have existed to play games. What differentiates a Web3 guild is that these are people that are coming together to for a specific goal, whether it's to own certain assets, whether it's to play a game, whether it's to compete at the highest levels. So guilds are very different from one another. After YGG became popular 2 years ago, you saw some other guilds receive venture backing. And I think a lot of these guilds are looking for what the business models would be that would drive it apart, whether it's product or maybe esports through competition, maybe through content creators. So I think guilds are now searching for this viable business model. And YGG does several things. We have a worldwide network of guilds that are focused in different geographies, such as Southeast Asia, India, Latin America, Japan, Korea. We're also building products. So we're building a soulbound token achievement system that games can use to create achievements that as NFTs, non-tradable NFTs that their players can own. So it's a combination of attracting community, partnering with games, building products that YUG is evolving.
Okay. So now one thing that I've noticed that's been, I guess, a talking point lately, we've been talking about play to earn, play to own and stuff. I mean, it seems like some of the games are kind of pivoting, their kind of gameplay model and their economics to play to own. Any thoughts on that?
Honestly, whether it's play to earn or play to own, like how you name it doesn't really matter. What matters is the underlying, I guess, economic model that people are using, right, to attract players. And what you've seen is that if there are people who are in the game expressly to earn money in the short term, then that business model doesn't really work. What you want is to be able to drive a lot of people to play a game and enjoy it, and then maybe at the end of a certain period be able to own assets, whether they're NFTs or tokens, and be able to use them also in the world that they're given. So we're seeing a lot of iteration, and we're seeing a lot more innovations in tokenomic models. And I don't think that a certain model has won out yet, but we're going to see that with the games that are launching in the next few months.
Yeah. I was curious, in this gaming space, are there any, what you just talked about, are there any specific regions? I mean, I assume that we can say APAC, but like certain countries that you're seeing, some of these more interesting things coming out on the gaming side?
So for games, you're seeing a lot of experienced free-to-play developers coming in and really start to iterate quickly on product. A lot of these developers are from more developed markets like the US. You're seeing a lot of action in Korea as well. I think a lot of the traditional Korean game publishers have started really embracing Web3. And just slightly behind them, you're also seeing the Japanese publishers, the large IP owners, getting more interested in Web3.
Nice. Now we've been talking about gaming, but you've actually also been, YGG has been a very big driving force in the Web3 esports scene. Maybe since like last year, 2022. What kind of inspired you guys, to make that move into Web3 esports? And is there any kind, what's your kind of vision for the future on that area?
So I think that guilds and esports are actually close cousins of one another. If you look at the core of what makes guilds and esports work, it's all about player passion and community driving a specific game. Esports tends to revolve around people competing at the highest levels, where guilds are welcoming to everyone that is willing to play the game. So I think as Web3 games become more and more mainstream, esports and guilds will also start to merge and become the same thing. And now you start to see Web3 guilds such as YGG get into esports. You're now seeing esports orgs come into Web3. But I think they'll all start to look the same when the most popular games in the world are Web3 games.
Okay. I mean, again, maybe looking, we were talking about, Web3, Web2 on the gaming side. What you see on the esports side is like the main differences between the Web2 and Web3 esports.
So for Web2 esports, it's been really hard to find a sustainable business model as well, because unlike, for example, traditional sports, which has huge amount of revenue in broadcast rights, no one's really paying to watch an online stream of their favorite game. Maybe they're paying tickets, and it's very rare that teams receive revenue share from revenue derived in the game. So I think Web3 esports has a chance to fix this by having closer alignment between revenue produced by games from these communities that may be mounting tournaments, for example. So this is something that we're very interested in, and we're working with competitive Web3 games that are coming out within the next year or so that we can have a viable esports model in these games.
Yeah, you mentioned tournaments. Do you find are the players the same group in Web2 and Web3?
Well, all of the Web3 gamers, I think, were previously gamers in Web2, right? Except that they're more interested in the economic aspect as well, which led them to Web3. And I think as long as the games are something that everyone can enjoy at a high level, I think over time these player bases will merge.
I see. I mean, so obviously, there's a lot of opportunity for the professional players. I mean, what do you see for like content creators? Potential content creators and maybe listening. Game developers on the Web3 esports area.
Yeah, so very closely related to esports are content creators, right? And you have a lot of Web3 content creators streaming their favorite Web3 games. And again, this is still a small segment compared to traditional content creators. Streaming are the largest games, but this is an area that is rapidly growing. And you also have the opportunity to align incentives between creators and the games by having these creators own assets and kind of feel like they're owning part of the game themselves rather than just being paid to stream it.
Yeah. Are there any particular initiatives that YGG or maybe some of it, you said like your other regional kind of like say sub DAOs, is there anything in particular that you wanted to highlight or maybe something in with regards to the esports that you guys have that will be coming out soon?
Well, last year we held the Axie Open Manila in the Philippines. It was the largest in-person LAN tournament for Axie Infinity. And then this year we're trying to see which games would be good for esports. So we're gonna have an event again later this year, and we're probably going to hold a tournament again. And we still have our content creators in the Philippines, for example. Famous content creators like Ian Mercado, Archer Perez, Cuckoo Crypto. These are continuing to stream for some of the games that our community is playing.
For people that, let's say, outside the Philippines, for example, we were talking about these kind of sub DAOs. Could you give maybe a bit more background on, how they become, a key element in helping you kind of grow the whole overall YGG community?
Sure. So the idea behind this is that we have partner guilds that operate our guild communities from around the world. So they're not directly run by YGG, but think of them as our partners in different parts of the world, right? So we have YGGC for Southeast Asia, including Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia. We have IndieGG for India. We have OLA for Latin America. We have YGG Japan and SkyGG in Korea. And the idea is that the people who are running communities are the ones closest to the ground, and they know what particular approach to take with each community. So we don't treat each community the same, one size fits all. All of them have slightly different ways in how they're running their guild communities because they know what it's like, they know what their communities are like, and they know which games these communities like as well.
I see. I believe was it December? I think you had your first sub DAO summit and stuff. Is that going to be a regular event? And was there anything that you found very interesting that came from the one just this past December, I believe?
So what we found is that the common ingredients are the same, right? There are games there are creators, there's community. We're all trying to build a product to engage, and then there's the assets. But a lot of different markets may prioritize different things. For example, SkyGG is very much focused on esports because Korea is arguably the birth of esports, and they're really kind of crazy about esports all across. While, for example, the more emerging markets are looking for ways to earn via either tokens or NFTs. So you just see different permutations of the strategy, but everyone is working with creators, everyone has NFTs, everyone is looking to connect games and NFTs with their own communities.
I see. Actually, I was thinking about that. That December last, I guess the last 6 months have been quite busy. I mean, you had the summit. I believe you actually something I was going to bring up a little bit later. You had that funding round and stuff, and obviously there was Filipinos. Was it the blockchain week or something? I think you were speaking at that and stuff. So, well, is it pretty much busy schedule year round for you?
Well, this year the market is still down, and while the market is down, we find that the best thing to do is really build product that can get you ready for the next cycle. When you're in a crazy bull market like 2021, it's hard to build things. Everything is happening crazy, everything is going up, and generally things are really crazy, and it's hard to really focus on building. And when the market being cyclical as it is, we find that it's best to plant your seeds during the bear markets and to harvest during the bull markets rather than trying to do it the other way around.
I see. So you were talking about building. Maybe could you give us maybe I guess some comments or what you could talk about with regards to? I believe it was it February? Obviously, there was a large funding round. I think A16 Ziggy. Let's see, Galaxy Interactive, a few other people, DWF Labs. They were also
That's right.
involved. Could you give some kind of background? I assume it is towards building and things like that.
Yeah. So we were building our product since last year, and we're basically creating player-owned, cross-platform, cross-chain achievements. And this is important because the achievement is the heart of a player's Web3 gamer reputation. So the things that they do inside the game matter and help accrue their reputation. So that when you go into a new app or into a new game as a player, the game can take a look at what's in your wallet, what your reputation is, what your achievements are, and maybe if you're a good gamer, if you're a good community member, if you're a content creator, they'll treat you differently and give you better offers depending on what your experience is or like how helpful you are to the community. So I think that kind of separation is one of the keys to the future so that people can get offers from a game depending on their reputation.
I see. Anything, with regards to that, that might be announced? Anything coming up soon, or maybe looking more towards the short-term future. We've kind of been explaining, overall market, but maybe focusing specifically on, YGG. Anything that have interest that's very interesting to you that's coming out in the near-term horizon that you want to discuss?
We've regularly kept in contact with the games that are coming out this year. Some of them have released their Genesis or factory NFTs, and then some of them are working with guilds to build in quests inside the game for different guilds to go into. So I think once these games launch later this year, you're going to be seeing YGG become more active in helping to promote these games, whether it's via community building, whether it's via questing, whether it's tournaments and achievements. We'll be active on all fronts.
See, so maybe like we have, I think about 5 to about 8 minutes. Any kind of final thoughts you have for like the overall YGG community that that you wanted to express?
Sure. So it's really hard to go through these different crypto cycles, especially if it's your first one. Being in the last crypto cycle, the bear market of 2018 to 19 was really tough for me personally. And there were many times where I almost quit. I actually had to take a break for a little while and get off crypto. But those who stuck through and learned the lessons and are able to add to their skill set and learn during the bear market are the ones that get rewarded long term. If I hadn't played around in 2018 with Axie and different NFTs, learned MetaMask, I wouldn't have been around when NFTs took off in late 2020, early 2021. So this is the best time for you to learn, to be able to get into communities. And I think that when the next cycle comes, when the next products come that will really be able to onboard a lot of people into Web3, then you'll be rewarded as well.
I see. Do you dare to give any kind of prediction that we won't hold you to as to when we may get out of this current
I
cycle?
don't know, but I think that it will be led by a game that a lot of people will want to play. That's what I'm betting on.
I see. Without naming it, unless I don't mind if you do, is there any kind of games out there that kind of really pique your interest, or if you don't want to give a name, like types of games, if that's a better way to describe them?
Just look at the YGG Twitter at Yield Guild. I think it gives you an idea of what games we're excited about.
Great, great. Well, I think we actually, I feel like we've talked a lot. Oh, wait, let's see. We've talked about, well, a lot of things. I'm trying to think, for any other kind of things that on your mind that you're thinking about. I mean, you did talk about, the new funding round, soulbound tokens and stuff. I mean, any looking at like other people using soulbound tokens, has there been any other, maybe not even gaming related kind of use cases that you've seen?
I think that soulbound tokens are just a great way for reputation, and the more different DAOs and games and dApps use them, the more data we can get out of people's behavior around crypto. So, for example, Treasure DAO is starting to use soulbound tokens as well. I know several games are starting to use it, and I think different DAOs will also be starting to use soulbound tokens to denote the reputation of their members. So I think it's a wonderful it's a wonderful development overall.
Great. One thing I was thinking, you mentioned, I think it was 2018 is when you started looking at MetaMask and all that. Given the current cycle that we're in, is there any new areas in the digital asset space or tech space or something that you've kind of like been looking into, given how the market is right now? I mean, totally different maybe from gaming or esports.
So I think that paying attention to how user acquisition will be handled in Web3 is very interesting. If you look at what happened in Web2, the dominant user acquisition platforms, whether it's Google or Facebook or ad networks, they made a lot of money. And I think it will be no different in Web3. Whoever will end up being the dominant user acquisition networks will continue to make a lot of money.
Great. Okay. Well, Gabby, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Look forward to the next time we speak again. And thanks to everyone for tuning in. And again, if you're in Bangkok, remember tonight, 6 p.m. So thanks again.
Thanks for having me.